Well, just when you thought that the 2026 Texas Senate race could not get any bigger or more dramatic, Congresswoman Democrat Jasmine Crockett has said she is, quote, strongly considering running for the Democratic Senate nomination. She made these comments in an interview on Sirius XM this week. And basically what she tied it to is the fact that Republicans in the state legislature are obviously, as you know, if you follow politics, redrawn the state's congressional map to gain 5 Republican seats. What that means is that there were 3 Democratic seats in the Dallas area, and that's now down to 2. Crockett represents one of those 3 seats, and presumably she'll have to choose where she wants to run if she wants to run for the House again. So her quote, thought this was a good one. This is her quote. If you want to take my seat of 766,000 away, I feel like there has to be some karma in that to where I take your seat that is for 30 million away. Now, I think Jasmine Crockett running would be a very bad thing for Democrats' chances of winning, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. But let me just set the scene of this race. So what you have is on the Republican side, you have a 3-way primary between incumbent Senator John Cornyn, MAGA Texas State Attorney General Ken Paxton, and Houston area Congressman Wesley Hunt. Okay? 3-way race there. On the Democratic side right now, you have a 2-way race between Colin Allred, who used to be a member of Congress from Dallas, ran against Ted Cruz for Senate in 2024 and lost by 8 points, and State Rep James Talarico. Talarico has sort of become a national star in Democratic circles. He's young, talks fluidly about his faith, is good talking to the manosphere, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so you have a 2-way race there. You have Crockett now thinking about running, and former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who's run for governor and Senate unsuccessfully in Texas, is also sort of still out there in the mix. This will be already, because of the Republican race between Cornyn, Paxton, and Hunt, it was already going to be, I think, one of the best races in the country. Democrats believe, and I think rightly, that if Paxton wound up as the nominee, he's extremely controversial. He's basically the Donald Trump of Texas, that they would have a chance with either Talarico or Allred. They would have an actual puncher's chance of winning a Senate seat in Texas in November 2026. If Crockett is the nominee, I think that is going to be extremely, extremely difficult, even if Paxton is the Republican nominee. Like I said, I'm going to explain in a second. Before I do that, I want to make a pitch to you. I hope you subscribe to my channel for 2 reasons, 2 words. 1, I'm independent from major corporate media, independent from the 2 political parties. I am also independent from sort of any ties. It's just me. I'm also authentic in that I'm always going to tell you what I think based on my years of reporting, my analysis, my honest opinions. Doesn't mean I'm always going to be right. Certainly doesn't mean you're always going to agree with me, but I'm never going to tell you what you want to hear just because it'll make you a subscriber. Okay. All right. So let's just do a quick reverse on who is Jasmine Crockett. So she's 44 years old, African-American woman. She was in the state legislature, got elected to a woman named Eddie Bernice Johnson's seat in 2023. So she is in her 2nd term right now. She represents a very Democratic area, would never lose the seat unless through redistricting, she was put in with other Democrats. She's also become a national figure for good and bad. She is absolutely outspoken about Republicans and Donald Trump and Texas Republicans as well. She got in a little bit of hot water. She referred to Greg Abbott, the governor of the state, who is in a wheelchair, as Governor Hot Wheels. She has gone back and forth with Donald Trump. She's on sort of MSNBC and the national cable circuit. Donald Trump has attacked her repeatedly as having a low IQ. So she's become a national figure very, very quickly. And what that means is she's well known and well liked among Texas Democrats. So let's just go through the primary and then let's talk about the general election. So in this same interview where she said she was strongly considering running, Crockett said this: every other day, there's a poll that comes out that makes it clear that I can win a primary. And honestly, she's right about that. So I went back and just looked at a couple recent polls. This one, University of Houston and Texas Southern University, Crockett, 31. James Talarico, 25, Beto O'Rourke, 25, Colin Allred, 13. Texas public opinion research. Beto O'Rourke, again, who's not in the race, 27%. Jasmine Crockett, 26%. Allred, 13%. Talarico, 7%. But now I'm going to read you another poll that came out over the summer, and this is going to explain, I think, why, if you're a Democrat, you do not want Jasmine Crockett as your nominee. The National Republican Senate Committee commissioned a poll over the summer of the Democratic primary that showed Crockett at 35%, Allred at 20%, O'Rourke and Joaquin Castro, congressman, at 13%. Why, you might ask yourself, would the National Republican Senate Committee commission a poll, pay for a poll in the Democratic primary that shows Jasmine Crockett winning? Well, the answer to that is simple. They are trying to entice Jasmine Crockett to run. They are basically saying, look, here are these numbers that show you winning. In fact, you're beating in this poll, you're beating the next closest person by 15 points. Why don't you think about running? When the other side is trying to get one of your candidates to run, there's always a reason. That's always a reason to be a little bit suspicious. And look, here's the issue, right? Jasmine Crockett is very liberal and very popular in the Democratic Party. She is well known. I think she'd raise a bunch of money. She'd be the front runner, I think, from the day that she got in, even with real and serious candidates from like Allred, who's run statewide before, Talarico, who's kind of this national star, even with those people in the race. I think she would probably start out close to or at the front of the field. The problem is, winning a Democratic primary in Texas is very different than winning a general election in Texas. Democrats have struggled to win any statewide race in Texas for decades, despite repeated attempts. Beto O'Rourke against Ted Cruz 7 years ago, Colin Allred against Ted Cruz last year. And I think the concern with Crockett would be, yes, the Democratic base loves her, but in order to win in Texas, you can't just win the Democratic base. You have to win independent voters, but you also have to win people who are Republicans, who might have even voted for Donald Trump. Jasmine Crockett, I think, is a very tough sell there. I made a video a bunch of months ago when Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican Congresswoman from Georgia, was thinking about running for the Senate. And I basically said this would be a nightmare for Republicans because Jon Ossoff, the Democratic incumbent in Georgia, is very vulnerable. But it would be hard for someone with Marjorie Taylor Greene's profile to win the kind of voters you would need to win to beat Ossoff. I think that's similar to what we're talking about with Jasmine Crockett. Both Greene and Crockett would be frontrunners in a primary because they are so aligned with the basis of their parties. The problem is it's very difficult for me to see how Crockett would reach out to the middle, particularly in a state like Texas, where there just are not enough Democrats. Even if you get all the Democrats to vote for you, you don't win. So I think this would be a dream scenario for Republicans because I think Ken Paxton has a real chance at winning the primary against John Cornyn and Wesley Hunt. And if he does, the best chance Republicans have of keeping that seat is Jasmine Crockett as the Democratic nominee, right? To me, there's no question that either Colin Allred or James Talarico, or honestly, maybe even Beto O'Rourke, would be a stronger general election candidate against Paxton or Cornyn or Hunt than Jasmine Crockett. My guess here is she's sort of using her leverage and her notoriety to kind of gin up this talk, maybe raise some money. I don't think she'll ultimately do it because I think she'll look at the numbers and realize she probably can't win, and that she's probably better off running in a Democratic primary, even if it's against another Democratic House incumbent in those redrawn districts around Dallas. But the possibility will make Democrats nationally nervous. I do not think that is the right nominee. And what's worse for national Democrats, I think it's very hard to stop Jasmine Crockett to winning the Democratic nomination if she does run for the Senate. All right, that's it for me. As always, a couple things. One, as I said before, I hope you subscribe. Independent, authentic. That's what I'm always solving for. I also hope you like and comment on this video. It helps me grow my community on YouTube, especially among people who aren't already subscribers. Last thing, be an evangelist for me. Make sure you tell people why you think what I'm doing is important, why they should sign up. And last thing, every Friday I do a live stream at 1 p.m. You can ask me questions live. I'll do my best to answer them. So 1 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays. I hope you check that out. It's a great community. I'd love to have you be a part of it. Take care.